In this video, we will explore which countries are set to dominate the world in the future, and which ones will fade into the shadows of their former glory as we move from rising to skyrocketing and falling to collapsing. The number 5 falling country is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has had a prominent role on the world stage since the colonial era, but its empire is in decline. It was once the largest global empire in history. It controlled nearly a quarter of the world's land and people. After World War II, Britain lost most of its colonies. The war had drained its economy, leaving the nation heavily in debt and unable to maintain its overseas possessions. The independence of India in 1947 marked the beginning of a rapid process of decolonization that continued across Africa, the Caribbean, and Southeast Asia. Although it received assistance through the Marshall Plan and joined the EU in the 1970s, the country continued to face challenges including high inflation, labor strikes, and oil shocks. In the late 20th century, the UK began to lag behind global powers like the United States and China. While London retained its status as a financial hub, Britain's manufacturing base shrank significantly. The UK's withdrawal from the EU in 2020 cost the nation an estimated $150 billion. Brexit also disrupted trade flows, weakened the British pound, and led many multinational companies to relocate parts of their operations to mainland Europe. Over the past 6 years, Britain has been led by 4 different prime ministers. Additionally, the average GDP growth per year over the last 3 years was only 0.9%. It has an aging population, a fertility rate below replacement level, and the burden on pensions, healthcare, and social services continue to grow. Ireland is calling for unification, and Scotland is calling for independence, which continues to fuel the fire. While the UK continues to participate in NATO and maintain a nuclear deterrent, it is increasingly clear that the sun is set on the British Empire. Just the number 5 falling country. Wait until we get into the ones that are completely collapsing. The number 5 rising country is Poland. Poland has long been at the crossroads of empires, partitioned, occupied, and erased from maps. But today, it is experiencing one of the most dramatic rises in modern Europe. After centuries of foreign domination, Poland re-emerged as a sovereign nation in 1918, only to be invaded by both Germany and the Soviet Union in World War II. The post-war communist regime stifled its economy until the rise of the Solidarity in the fall of the Iron Curtain in 1989. Since joining NATO in 1999 and the European Union in 2004, Poland has undergone a rapid process of modernization. The country became a manufacturing hub, especially for automobiles and electronics. In recent years, Poland has emerged as a regional leader. It is one of the fastest growing economies in the EU, outpacing Western Europe in GDP growth. Its military spending now exceeds 4% of GDP, among the highest in NATO. Culturally, Polish cinema, tech startups, and its global diaspora have boosted the country's soft power. Poland's strategic importance is undeniable. From energy independence to digital transformation, it is becoming a model of post-communist success. Once the victim of great powers, Poland is now a rising power in its own right. We've seen the 5th ranked rising country, but there are still nations that are skyrocketing to the top. The number 4 falling country is China. China has re-emerged as a central power on the global stage, but the path has not been without turbulence. After centuries of imperial rule, the collapse of the Qing dynasty in 1912 led to decades of internal strife. Civil war, warlordism, and Japanese invasion fractured the country, delaying its modernization. The communist victory in 1949 brought unity under Mao Zedong, but the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution caused economic disaster and social upheaval. In the late 1970s, Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms opened China to global markets. Special economic zones, foreign investment, and expert-led growth turned China into the world's factory. For decades, it posted double-digit GDP growth, lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty. By 2010, China had become the 2nd largest economy. Its influence expanded through the Belt and Road Initiative, investments in Africa and Latin America, and military modernization. Yet China's rise has slowed. The real estate crisis, youth unemployment level nearly 20%, and shrinking population have raised questions about further growth. Internationally, tensions over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and human rights abuses have strained relations with the West. Internally, Xi Jinping's consolidation of power has brought political stability, but at the cost of civil liberties. As China enters an era of demographic decline and global suspicion, it remains a formidable force, but one that must adapt to a far more contested world order. The number 4 rising country is Mexico. Mexico is amid a quiet rise, transforming from a country once plagued by debt crises and drug violence into a vital global manufacturing and trade hub. Following independence from Spain in 1820, 2021, Mexico struggled with political instability, foreign invasions, and territorial loss. But after a series of economic reforms in the late 20th century, especially the 1994 NAFTA deal, it began to integrate into the global economy. Mexico is America's top trading partner, surpassing China and Canada. Its proximity to the US and participation in the USMCA agreement make it a key link in North American supply chains. Nearshoring has accelerated as companies shift operations closer to the US market, especially in automotive, electronics, and aerospace. Mexico also boasts a young population, growing tech hubs like Guadalajara, and a cultural footprint that spans music, cinema, and cuisine. Despite challenges with organized crime and governance, macroeconomic stability has improved. Politically, Mexico is expanding its influence in Latin America and deepening ties with global partners like the EU, China, and India. Once known for economic volatility, Mexico is increasingly becoming the future North American industry. The number 3 falling country is South Korea. South Korea has risen from the ruins of war to become an economic and cultural powerhouse. After the Korean War devastated the peninsula in the 1950s, South Korea was one of the world's poorest countries. The miracle on Han River transformed South Korea into an industrialized nation. By the 1990s, democracy took root, and South Korea became a G20 economy. Companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG symbolized their technological rise. South Korea boasts a well-educated workforce and cutting-edge innovation in AI, robotics, and biotechnology. Yet the country now faces major headwinds. An aging population and the world's lowest fertility rate threaten long-term economic sustainability. The youth struggle with housing prices, job market saturation, and academic pressure. Geopolitically, South Korea remains caught between US military dependence and economic ties with China. Relations with Japan remain strained due to historical grievances, while tensions with North Korea flare unpredictably. Its transformation is undeniable, but sustaining its success will require deep structural change and geopolitical balancing. The number 3 rising country is the Philippines. The Philippines is undergoing a major transformation, reasserting itself economically and strategically in Asia. A former Spanish, then American colony, the Philippines gained independence in 1946, only to face decades of authoritarian rule. But in the 21st century, the country has stabilized politically and begun to accelerate economically. Its English-speaking population and digital skills make it a global leader in call centers and remote work services. Infrastructure development has surged. Projects like the Build program are modernizing transportation and logistics. Manila's urban skyline is changing rapidly, and ports and airports are being upgraded to meet regional trade demands. Geopolitically, the Philippines is regaining strategic weight. Its renewed alliance with the United States, military agreements with China and Australia, and a tougher stance against Chinese aggression in the South China Sea have increased its regional clout. At the same time, it's attracting investments from Korea, India, and the Gulf states. The Philippines is transitioning from a labor exporting economy to a rising regional player. Its challenge now is to turn economic momentum into long-term growth. The number 2 falling country is Russia. Russia has always been a land of vast ambitions. After emerging from the ruins of the Mongol invasion, the Tsardom of Russia expanded aggressively, reaching the Pacific by the 17th century. Under the Romanovs, Russia became a European great power, but centuries of autocracy, serfdom, and uneven modernization left it fragile. The Russian Revolution in 1917 gave the rise to the Soviet Union, which rapidly industrialized under Stalin, but at the cost of tens of millions of lives. After World War II, the USSR became one of 2 global superpowers. It built a nuclear arsenal, launched the first satellite into space, and backed revolutions across the globe. Yet stagnation, bureaucracy, and economic inefficiency weakened the Soviet system. The collapse in 1991 left Russia politically disoriented and economically devastated. In 1999, a new era of centralized power, rising oil wealth, and a nationalist rhetoric was ushered in. Russia regained regional influence, intervening in Georgia, Syria, and most recently Ukraine. The invasion of Ukraine in 2022 marked a turning point. Western sanctions, military setbacks, and international isolation has severely damaged Russia's economy and global standing. While Russia still possesses nuclear power and natural resources, its demographic crisis and authoritarian stagnation hinder its prospects. Once a global superpower, Russia today is increasingly seen fighting to preserve influence rather than expand it. The number 2 rising country is Indonesia. Indonesia is quietly becoming a global economic giant. As the world's 4th most populous country and the largest economy in Southeast Asia, it holds untapped potential. After gaining independence from the Dutch in 1949, Indonesia experienced authoritarian rule followed by democratic reforms in the late 1990s. Indonesia's economy has diversified beyond oil and gas to include manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, and tech. Indonesia's nickel, copper, and cobalt reserves make it a key player in global supply chains. Indonesia is also taking on a larger global role, hosting G20 summits and forging new trade alliances. Its democratic resilience and natural resources make it uniquely positioned between China and the West. While governance issues, infrastructure gaps, and inequality remain, Indonesia is no longer just a resource exporter, it is a rising Indo-Pacific power. The #1 fallen country is Japan. Japan's journey has been marked by dramatic transformation. Isolated for centuries under the Tokugawa shogunate, it industrialized rapidly after the Meiji Restoration in 1868. Within decades, Japan defeated China and Russia in war, signaling its arrival as a major imperial power. By the 1930s, it pursued aggressive expansion, culminating in World War II. Defeated and devastated, Japan rebuilt under US occupation. The post-war boom, fueled by exports, manufacturing, and innovation, turned Japan into the second largest economy by the 1980s. It pioneered electronics, automobiles, and high-speed rail. Deflation, low productivity growth, and a rapid aging population eroded Japan's economic momentum. Tensions with China, North Korea, and Russia drive its growing defense. While still a wealthy, technologically advanced society, Japan is no longer the economic juggernaut it once was. The #1 rising country is India. India's rise is one of the most significant global shifts of the 21st century. After centuries under colonial rule, India gained independence in 1947 and became the world's largest democracy. But economic progress was slow for decades. That changed in 1991 when the economy was open to global trade and investment. Today, India is the world's most populated state and the 5th largest economy, soon to be 3rd. It is a founding member of the Quad, a G20 heavyweight, and a key player in BRICS. Its strategic location in the Indian Ocean and strong military posture make it essential to Indo-Pacific security. While tensions remain with China and Pakistan, India's global influence continues to grow. In the 21st century, India is rising far above. Thanks for watching and subscribe to support the channel.